Welcome to the Life Is podcast, where creativity, culture, mindset, and intentional living come together through real conversation. I'm your host, Coy Brown. Each week, I sit down with entrepreneurs, artists, athletes, travelers, and visionaries who didn't stumble into a life they love, they built it. We go deep into how they think, how they reconstructed themselves, and what became possible on the other side. This is not just about what people have accomplished. It's about the internal work that made it sustainable. Because when you build from the inside out, life expands. Let's get into it. This week, I'm sitting down with someone who decided that leaving the world better than she found it wasn't a philosophy, it was a business plan. Robbin Pott is a regenerative farmer, a soil biologist, a cannabis pioneer, and a mentor to young people who needed a reason to believe something different is possible. She didn't stumble into this life, she built it. Slowly, patiently, on purpose. And what she built on the outside started with something she rebuilt on the inside. Here's what that looked like. All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone who's listening. This is another episode of the Life Is podcast hosted by myself, Coy Brown. And today we have another extraordinary guest, Robbin Pott, that's going to share her story and not only just her value, but her journey into what she's doing now, which is regenerative farming. But with that being said, Robbin, I want to welcome to the show. And how are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me on your program, Coy. I'm really looking forward to our conversation.
Yes, absolutely. I'm super excited. And you're really the first person throughout this theme of the podcast, if those who look at the kind of the notes of this podcast, really kind of the sustainability regenerative kind of aspect. So I'm really excited to kind of dive into that and have
Yeah.
the viewers be able to listen in really what you're doing, because I'm very much passionate about the same thing. I'm very interested in that and I support that. So I'm excited for you to share your story, how you got into that, and really what you're doing from an impact standpoint
hmm
within the regenerative environment. So really quick, before we kind of get into it, for all the listeners, if you can, Robbin, take the time, kind of just tell people who you are, where you're from, and what are you doing in the world now, and kind of what brought you up, to that point now.
Yeah. Right now I live on a farm in Willis, Michigan. It is where we operate our regenerative hemp farm. I co-founded Pott Farms, which
Yes.
uh, is my last name that I was born with. It's a regenerative cannabis farm. We grow hemp right
Yes.
now, and we are an educational research farm. The primary purpose of the creation of the farm was to provide supportive job training for young people who are coming out of situations such as
Mm-hmm.
poverty and trauma, and that is how I got here. I am a lawyer, and
Yeah.
I was a researcher at the University of Michigan. And I've been working with children and youth and families in situations like that in child welfare and juvenile justice. And I just, we'll talk about this a little bit
Yeah.
later, but I
Sure.
came to understand that I really wanted to be working directly with these young people that I care so much about and live a life doing the things I want to be doing every day. And that was being outside and growing and caring for things. And I've
Mm-hmm.
been able to combine those two interests, and it's been uh, a very fun, very challenging path. But
Yes.
we're here, and it's happening.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you. I appreciate you kind of laying the land for everyone kind of listening and kind of setting the stage here. You actually hit the nail on the head, because that's where I was going to go about, realizing, right, the life that you're not living, what you wanted to do, right? And also too, I think it's challenging, I think, for people maybe like yourself or others who are creatives or have a passion about something. And how do I segue that together of what I really want to do when you're in a different field, as you mentioned, being a lawyer. So before we get into like all the certifications that you have and of course your farm we'll talk about here shortly in the research, um, I want to kind of talk about really the woman who made all of that, right? Before you got into that, when did you first feel, there was maybe, I don't want to say tension, but when you felt like, okay, this is not the life I want to live or would want to be living, kind of what was that like in that space or that tension?
Yeah, it was really a hard time because I was in my dream job. I
Mm-hmm.
I was a lawyer doing research at a top academic institution in the field that I love. And
Yeah.
I got there and it turned out to be a dead end, and I was not living a happy life. And I
Yeah.
also, it was towards the end, kind of a bail fell. And, my research was showing that if you give children and families what they need, they do better. And
You're like,
I was a scientist proving this, and it was ridiculous. And so, that that was that it was a hard moment, and to realize that this is not it.
yeah. No, I think to your point, it's like when you realize, this is, like you said, the data, this is the research, and then we're not doing what the research says or even living up to it,
Hmm.
that that really makes it hard to, want to move forward when you're kind of, beating a dead horse kind of
Yeah, so I
person.
had to figure out what my next steps were about
Yeah.
10 years ago.
And that led you into what you're doing now, right? Looking
Yeah.
for, well, doing the farming and the hemp. Um, Now you can kind of fill some context here as I go to my next question, but I know we spoke offline and you spent a good amount of time, right? You spent like a couple of years searching for the right land that you're on now from 2016 all the way to 2021.
Mhm.
From what it sounds like. So there was some time there. And I even asked you, like, why, what took so long? Because most people would want to settle. They just, give me something and run with it. What kept you from settling? And what were you actually maybe waiting for? If there was something that you were like, I want to find the right one.
Well, so finding I farmed on leased land for 4 years before we found the farm,
Yep.
and the cannabis. Starting a business is difficult. Starting a farm is harder, and starting a company in an industry that was illegal for 80 years, nearly impossible. And so, uh, a lot of it was navigating slow movement towards opportunity, and doing all the things that I can prepare for those opportunities to arrive. And a lot of that we found a 1.5 acre piece of land with a landowner who owned it and was willing to work with us, and
Yep.
just learned on lessons first few years. And by the time um, I found the farm, it was 5 years is a long time. It's hard to have
Yeah.
patience. We saw a lot of farms that just, there's a lot of near misses, a lot of no's. But ultimately, the farm we found is way better than we ever imagined.
Mm-hmm.
And it came at the absolute right time. And, you can connect the dots backwards.
Right. Yes.
And it teaches to just, I've learned this lesson many, many times through this, that trust the process and trust your inner voice, and trust
Mm-hmm.
that, if you do what you can do right now, and you do the next step that appears, and you keep doing that, it, it,
It
you'll get
works. Yeah. Yeah. There's a quote by, I think, Martin Luther King, like basically take the next step and the next step will appear.
there.
Like, do what you do now and you'll find your way. Or I don't know, there's another one like when you get to the top, like you'll see where you're at, but then you'll see how far you can go. Right.
Yeah.
Um, but no,
Yeah.
go ahead. I didn't.
So, but that's exactly it. That metaphor is like, for about 7 years, from like when I decided to leave, I took about 18 months to wind down my academic career
Yeah.
while I like learned business entrepreneurship and like farming,
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
and I always, so I felt like I was on a stone in a stream, and the next stone is not there. And I had to begin that next step with it
Yeah.
not being there.
Yeah.
And somehow every step appeared when my foot landed.
Yep. Yeah.
A lot of
And
faith.
and two, I wanna, gently take a step back. Can you kinda give a time frame of when you left? Because I kinda gave you 2016, and maybe for someone listening, I know we kinda
Mhm.
jumped ahead, but can you obviously, you did research at U of M. Um, what was that time frame, and maybe some context of when you left, what that looked like?
Yeah, so in 2015 is when, so I was on soft money and, grant cycles. In 2015,
Yeah.
I w I was, about 18 months, 2 years, 18 months away from the end of the grants that I was working on, and I was starting to figure out what my next thing was, and is when I realized that, I can I fund it all myself, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh," I decided that I wanted to, like, set aside my identity as an academic, a lawyer, a researcher.
Hmm.
I was at the top. I was just like, there's nowhere else to go. I was at the top. Like I had a really successful academic career. So there's no like lateral, there's no like upward,
Yeah, you couldn't go.
So, I decided in, you know, August 29th, 2015 that I was going to start a pot farm and it was going to be a youth training center. And I had it like, it's a single day. I had my work plan. Uh, and then I had 16 months from that point till when I had to, you know,
Yeah.
so I spent that time writing and wrapping up my projects. And yeah, I told you this before, you kind of mentioned
Yeah.
is the week I left the university in September of 2016 is the week the Michigan governor signed the commercial cannabis law, which I had been
Yeah.
writing this plan to get into because they'd been talking about in the legislature. And then it was, uh, you know, lots of slow, it's just,
Yeah.
and I was off and I didn't look back.
Okay. Well, good. Yeah, I wanted to at least provide some context. But to your point too, it was like you said, the stone appeared like soon, which was crazy. When you told me that, that was like I said, perfect timing, right? You've been gearing
Yeah.
up, kind of ramping up to get the business plan. You've been getting all the research, and like you said, going around. And it was like as soon as you left, boom, right? They pass it, and then it's like the gates are open, and you're
Mm-hmm.
ready to go. So going kind of forward now, when you found the farm, right? You found the farm, and you even mentioned it was surrounded by mature trees, like away
Hmm.
from chemical drift, and the house was in good shape, which was obviously key. What did it feel like to know that, like that was the one? Like, how did you describe that kind of inner recognition? Like, okay, this is the one we need, and this is the one we want to go with.
Like a new beginning. I felt like I was now at the starting line. It
Hmm.
was like
Yeah, yeah,
after now we're at the starting line. And it wasn't just like it was beyond knowing. Like I felt when I was here, like it was this welcoming
yeah,
excitement
feeling.
from the land. Like I can't even put it into words. It was beyond knowing. It was just a they were waiting for me as much as I say they is like this land and
Right, right. The soil.
the water that's here
Yeah,
is can't really
yeah. Describe, but it's very much somatically. Like I think somatically, maybe spiritually too. Like there was like this, you could say confirmation, conviction,
yeah,
that was like almost reinforcing, and
yeah.
you could pick up on it.
There's no doubt.
Yeah.
There's a lot of doubt we put yeah, there was it was clear. There was zero doubt.
Okay. Well, good. Man, it was you were locked in.
Mhm.
So obviously you find the farm, right? And which is great because now you find where you want to kind of settle and move forward.
Mhm.
Now talking about like kind of rebuilding the soil up and getting into regenerative farming and kind of the philosophy behind that.
Yeah.
And what you wanted to do as you were describing through your business plan. For the listeners that are listening or when they will listen to this, can you explain to them like what is regenerative farming to someone who's never heard this? Because I think all of us we hear it a lot, right? Regenerative and sustainable, but like, what are you really doing, right? I think it's a buzzword for a lot of people, and if you could kind of explain that to them, maybe the philosophy behind it and what you're actually doing, maybe to the earth or to the soil.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, the word regenerative, I like to, just when I first kind of am introducing it to people is just focus on the re,
yeah,
we're returning health, we're restoring health and balance, we're repairing the damage. And, you know, the before regeneration and regenerative farming is kind of this rising term. But people before was talking about sustainable. We need sustainable. our systems are so broken. If we sustained what we have now,
Yes.
we would just we need to repair what we have. And then
Yes.
so that's just like the principal part of your question, but on the practical side, regenerative agriculture is a modern term for ancient thinking. And it's
Mm.
right. So under this bubble, we see a rise of traditional thinking. So, you might hear there's different kind of
Yeah.
practices. I would say biodynamics is the rise of European indigenous knowledge. Permaculture is, to
Yep.
be frank, stolen indigenous knowledge from the Aborigine population. Korean natural farming is Asian traditional farming. And
Yeah.
then on top of it, I'm trained by the Soul Food Web school by Dr. Elaine Ingham's program, the woman who discovered and identified and has spread the word about how living soil works. It's the science. And what I've learned so I started off as biodynamics because that would just really resonated with me.
Yeah. That's what it.
I'm 100% German heritage, and the German pagan farming tradition, but it's a little like unexplainable, some of the practices. And when I found Dr. Elaine Ingham's program, the Soul Food Web, I got the science. And you know what? The science confirms all of these traditional practices. These
Mm-hmm.
people did not have a microscope, who didn't know science, knew that the soil was alive, and they knew how to treat it very well and to keep it living. And that's what we're returning to. Regenerative agriculture. We are returning to practices that
Yep.
allow us to live in balance.
Good. And I appreciate the answer because I think a lot, even myself, I think a lot of people hear that and like, what does that really mean? I think you even told a story where you talked to someone who was in the field and really didn't like understand it from a, deeper level.
Mhm.
It was very much surface level. So, having
All
that
the
content,
time.
yeah, having the explanation and the understanding is like, that's key because that's what's really, because the re part is
Mhm.
important. We're going back to what it should be.
Mhm.
Um, So you also studied soil biology formally, as you already mentioned, for 4 years, actually
Yeah.
under Elaine Ingram's program. As I just alluded to, most people don't go that deep, or they wouldn't go that deep. They would just
Mhm.
kind of go surface level. What did understanding the soil food web change about how you see growth? Not just in the
Mhm.
ground, but as a principle as well.
We get in our own way of the
Mm-hmm.
culture,
For sure.
that nature is here to help us, and it is way wiser than we are. We are the youngest siblings on this planet,
Yep.
and we like to think we're the big bossy,
We know better.
we know better, and the hubris that is involved in modern agriculture um, is completely unnecessary. That we need to the planet wants us here, and nature wants to grow with us and help and us to steward it.
Yep.
That's what I learned.
Yeah, I agree. I think we just need to get into like unison with it, like work in cooperation with it
Mhm.
rather than trying to create your own way and then making it worse than what it was.
Oh, yeah.
And
Way
as
worse.
yeah, well, I'd say way worse, which we've done. And I know we can both talk offline. That's another topic for another day of just greed and all type of other stuff. But speaking of that, right? Speaking of your farm and your farm operates, excuse me, without any like off farm chemical inputs.
Mhm.
Like you, and I think you said you only purchase the seed, right? So when your farm, like your hemp farm, you only purchase the seed. Everything else comes from within the system of regenerative. What is that? I guess what does or what has it taught you about self sufficiency, and what are the limits of that model of regenerative?
So it was always our goal to get to this place.
Yeah.
Where our fertility is supplied completely on our farm. Um, it demonstrates that there is a lot of excess, surplus, unnecessary stuff in our lives,
Hmm.
and it's not farming. It's and it is assuring. I know this is like it is a scary, uncertain time that we're living
Yeah.
through, but security is accessible. And we can change course. And there's lots of people like me and around the world and in our country who are moving in that direction already.
Yeah, you kind of hit something because I'm actually curious. You said self sufficiency, excuse me, is
Mhm.
possible.
In
You know,
community, in
yeah,
community.
yeah, I agree. And what I was gonna get at is like I seen some the other day where I think I want to say the word trend because it's not really a trend. I think people are just waking up to the idea of like this is possible. To your point of like because of times we're in, because of idea of food shortage and just food in general, and the what's the word? I don't want to say the word honesty, but maybe the transparency of our food.
Hmm.
People want to go back, right? Go back to actually getting their own food. So I think that's important. And I definitely agree with your idea of like people wanting to go that route and knowing it's possible.
Hmm.
Um, especially with the environment that we're in and just going forward and beyond. Even self-sufficiency, I was just curious about too as you were speaking, like be from I don't know, maybe a practical sense. The words I'm losing my train of thought here, but I guess maybe it shows you that you can do more with less. Maybe that's a simple way to put it. When you're going through your practice in your program, is that maybe something you've learned or maybe picked up like, hey, there you can do more with less and be more effective?
Absolutely. And so the way we farm is I understand the science of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
soil
yeah. Yeah,
and
that's
how it
huge.
works. And if left alone, and if you have the living soil and balance the way it should be, there's not much to do. I mean, once you get the system in place, it takes very little maintenance. It takes very little irrigation. The pests
Yep.
are under control. The weeds are under control, and it's actually it can get to a relatively low effort
Mm,
farming method.
yeah.
And we think, I mean, it's hard. It's hard work when you're doing the work, but
Oh, for
a
sure.
lot, a lot of I think a lot in most industries, a lot of the work that's done is not necessary, and we're just in this hamster wheel, like running to get nowhere. And
Really?
whereas I'm living a calm, some like
Yeah,
a calm. I'm not going. I'm here,
yeah,
and I'm not stressed. I'm not living a hectic life. I'm in control of who's in my life and what I do every day, and uh, just have gotten to a point where anything unnecessary is has been removed.
yeah, that's a good boundary. It's a good boundary, um, ecosystem too that you have in place.
Mhm.
And too, I wanted to add, like, to your whole process, right? It almost seems like you said it's low effort, but once you kinda almost input the system runs itself, and, and that's
Right.
also including, nature and mother nature and earth and soil. It's like once you kinda operate and put the right inputs, it's science, like you said, the outputs are gonna be there. It's just, kind of monitoring, the
100%.
yeah. Um, I want to kind of move forward too, right? Because we're going to kind of segue into, cannabis, your justice, and kind of courage to build differently, of what you've been kind of describing, and the decision to go to cannabis. So your decision to pursue farming was rooted in addressing the generational damage. I know we talked about like the drug war, poverty, incarceration, which is from your past, your past history and systemic inequity. Um, Talking me kind of through that decision, like what did you see that made you believe a farm could be a part of that repair, right? Because as you kind of talked to in the beginning, it was like this is a whole different vehicle to allow me to do what I really want to do and have an impact for kids.
Well, I'll say, um, it started I mean, my first thought was, "Okay, I'm leaving my academic career. What do I wanna be doing day to day?" I
Yes.
wanted to be farming. This was me, and this is part of your framework. Like, on it my someone might, like, in the selfish, self-centered realm, I wanted to be doing this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, okay, I wanna be farming. What can be farming that's gonna be useful to train young people in terms of, like, profitability?
Yes. Yes.
And the cannabis industry was coming online, and I am a long time consumer.
Yep.
I had a medical card, but, I've been smoking since the 1900s. I like to joke with my young people. Um, and I just, it just clicked at this opportunity, this new industry. And at the time, it was like a gold rush. Everyone's like,
Oh,
cannabis,
no.
everyone's going to get rich.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I was coming, and it just, the two was, when I thought of the two, my previous work, I've always, since I was 18, I've been working with young people affected by poverty and trauma. And the structure of poverty and trauma in lots of these neighborhoods are rooted in the drug war.
Yep.
It's generational harm, incarceration, community destruction, family destruction. And so I am now have been working with the young people who have inherited not just the trauma, but the limitations, the barriers,
Mm-hmm.
uh, harm that by no means they contributed to. And so to be able, so my goal, like from day one, from August 29th, 2015, my goal was try to capture some of this opportunity and hand it to those who inherited the harms.
Yeah.
And that's that's kind of what this is all
Yeah.
about,
Yeah. It's
is
been a
to
driving force.
make
Yeah.
sure, because a lot of money, people who don't come from the cannabis culture flooded in and wanted to get rich quick, and it's like, no, I'm going to try to capture some of this for those who really deserve the fruits of it.
Yep. Yeah. People who actually really deserve it. Yeah. And give them a good direction. Because you're right. I mean, people who are either in your field who are listening, um, there is a lot of systemic, and just limitations, like you said, guardrails that just get put on you. And we've seen it, right, for decades. But I think it gets just kind of pushed aside, almost just accepted another thing in the wheel, right, in the wheelhouse that no one's really dealing with. And those who are dealing with it, I would assume, um, they're fighting up an uphill battle. So to kind of turn that into something that can generate, create, bring awareness, bring value, and uplift and give a new opportunity is like, it's perfect that you kind of package this, right, and doing something else. So that's a
Hmm.
good way to put it.
Hmm.
Um, so as we move forward here too, you've been doing this for a while. You've been doing this for 10 years. And
Hmm.
you've navigated, regulatory, legal complexity, largely on your own legal expertise, which is great because as you said, you're you're a lawyer. So
Hmm.
that helps, right? You have that working for you. And that's a long time, right? To hold, a vision where like the world hasn't caught up to yet with like hemp and cannabis. What kept you from like walking away and say, you know what, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I should go somewhere else.
I never once doubted it. Never once. Um, it is, so we for one, m- you know, the mismatch of, you know, I, d- it's interesting in your intro, like you didn't mention that I was a lawyer. It's like an identity that has been shed, but the skill set,
Hmm.
it keeps my farm going. If we had to pay a lawyer to do all the things I do that require a lawyer, we would have been out of business a long time ago.
Yeah.
Um, and um, so that helped. I mean, but it, I just believe in the enormous potential of cannabis, and I just never, I don't, it was an inner knowing,
Yeah.
and it was just an inner knowing that never once, uh,
Never folded, never wavered. I mean, I think it helps the emotional and the drive, like the passion and the emotional tie is like synced up and was like, here's where I'm going. Like I'm not looking back. I know where I want to go, and this is where I'm going, pretty much.
yeah, and somewhat like, uh, the the industry, when I've been involved when the gates opened. So there was a
Mhm.
blank slate. And I knew from the get go that it's anyone's game.
Right. Right.
And I went for my vision of how I would like to see the industry. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it was, uh because a lot of things going on in cannabis, is not how I would like to see it. It's very, they consider it manufacturing instead of agriculture, for
Mhm.
example. So,
Which is
I'm
crazy.
right. So I'm just trying to get my vision, and it's my vision is here for how we can work with cannabis.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's others like you. I mean, you're not the only one. I'm sure you got people within your network that share the same.
That's the amazing thing about hemp. So, we were pre-approved for a medical license,
Yeah,
in 2019, like, at like the fourth or fifth meeting they had, like we were just right there. And the same month we got pre-approved, the state opened hemp licenses,
yeah.
and we grabbed one. We're like, this is gonna take a while. Let's try hemp for a while. We really want to do the farming. And where was I going with this? I forgot.
No, I was just saying that, hey, it's I would assume other people share the same values of you, like,
Yes. So
in your own
the
way,
thing,
like.
so this being on the hemp side of things is totally different than the marijuana side of things, because there are small and underrepresented farmers like me doing
Mhm.
this. They are doing it regeneratively like me, using on-farm inputs, and they're nonprofits. They're wanting to serve their communities. That mindset is just baked into this side of things. And
Yeah.
so I do find my people over here on the hemp side of things.
Yeah. Also too, I wanna extract something from what you said, maybe just to give context to folks. Your company, it's not a B Corp, is it? Or is that what it's called in Michigan?
It's a low profit limited liability company. It's an L3C. It's a
That's what it was, okay.
Not all the states have them. Michigan does. It's so for not many people really grasp this, but for-profit companies are legally required to maximize profit.
Yep.
Like, that's what the state endorses you to do, is to make profit. And so our legal structure is a hybrid, where we are a for-profit registered limited liability company, but we are legally able to pursue other purposes. So
Yes.
we do have investors. I have members in the farm, and in our operating agreement and in our state legal structure, the farm is legally able to s- not maximize profit in exchange for our people and our environment.
Yeah, well,
But that doesn't mean we are limited for profit. We have no limit
right.
on the amount of money we could make. So it's
Mm.
an it's and so I come
Cool.
from a world. I have a lot of nonprofit experience. I started several. I was the executive director of one. I've been on boards. I've been president of boards. And when I had to start my own company to start, what is usually considered charitable, work, youth job
Mhm.
training, supportive, trauma informed youth job training, I didn't want to do a nonprofit. It is a it is
That's
designed for
that's
you to fail. And, so I was like, "Well, if I can farm and make income and the income can pay for the program, that's what I want." And the state of Michigan has a business entity that allows that.
yeah, no, that's the perfect of both worlds. Like, when you explained it, I was like, "Oh, like, shoot, that makes a lot of sense.
Mhm,
That's nice." Um, yeah, and you said you're right, there's only a few states that have it. I mean, it
mhm,
is very much rare or limited to many other states.
mhm,
Before we keep going, if what Robin just shared about building something that gives back more than it takes is landing for you, she works directly with farmers, land stewards, and organizations on exactly that through Pott Farms. Go to her website, link is in the show notes, reach out directly, mention code LifeIsPod10, and she will connect with you personally. I want to talk about the farm,
mhm,
really kind of your program that you have in place. So talking about just like the youth and obviously the soil and the healing, part of this. Um, where tell me, I guess, more about the young people who come through your farm, and not just the program, but the people, because I know that's really, really the leading driver from this whole story, right? Is the work you were doing. what do you see in them when they first arrive, and what shifts while while they're there?
Right. So I absolutely adore this age range between like 18 and 25. It is so my undergraduate degree is in psychology and child psychology, and
Yes.
developmentally it is like a second toddlerhood where the brain is like a sponge. It let goes of some wiring that it acquired during childhood, and it's
Yes.
open for rewiring. And it is this moment that I see, as young people who are coming out of these extremely challenging upbringings, who still have capacity and demonstrated deep resilience, but they're at this point where they're disillusioned, they're
Mhm.
depressed, they have, especially with, and then you add just all the world nonsense going on that
Yeah.
you don't see the point of trying or going to school. Like there's just this like, what is the point? And they also don't want to participate in the system that exists. They overconsumption, the
Yep.
working a job for no reason. They just see it all. Like the young people that I work with, just have this open view of what is really going on in the world, and so they come to the farm, and it's beautiful, and it's not structured so much like a normal job, and we do what needs to be done during the day, and we harvest food and we cook food and we eat food together, and
Mm.
we just there's bees and there's chickens and woods, and there's this shift where they start to see there is a way forward,
Yes.
that change is possible, that there are solutions in practice today. And um there's this one intern who I carry her comment with me. She had a lot of trauma around cannabis growing
Yes.
up, and it was very, very difficult for her to be here, but she was brave enough to come out and do the internship. And towards the end, she says the farm has a happy ending feel to it. Like a
Mm.
happy ending is possible. And that is, just
Right,
gets at
hits
the
you.
heart it gets at heart of the feeling of the farm that we try to uh share.
Yeah, you try to, yeah, help out. And 2, when are the kids coming? Is this usually in the summer, time frame, like, when they're coming, or is this
Yeah, so we don't really have we've done summer internships since 2021. It took a couple years it's
yeah,
slow,
get it up
but
and going, yeah.
yeah, and then they come I've done spring beekeeping internships. I've done
Hmm,
um, just 8 or 10-week internships with um local programs that
yeah,
are doing this kind of work, need work sites. And then what happens is after they've been here, and because of the nature of the work and who I am, I stay involved with these young people's lives,
yeah, absolutely.
and and they become part of this pool that I draw upon for paid work days. We have a project. And so I send out an email or text, be like, hey, we're going to be working on this week. Anybody available? And so they
Right,
continue to come out and connect and get paid. We don't ever have volunteer work. If you're here working, you're either I help train other soil food web students.
mm,
And so those I help facilitate their training. They can come here and practice. But then if you're just coming here, you're going to be paid,
yeah,
because we believe that the work we're doing, like caring for the land, producing food, producing crops, and restoring health, is the most important job there is right now. And we will put value on that, and people should
yeah,
know that that has value, and their contributions to it is valuable.
yeah, I love too because as like, right, once again, as you're speaking, it's like, one, I'm kinda smiling because it's like these kids come here kinda like mother pot, right? Like, you're the mother that kinda helping them out, and you're an educator, right? So
Mhm.
we spoke offline. I think it's always unique, right? People we have on the show, yourself included. It's like everything you did in your life has led up to what you're doing now. So the lawyer work, the research, the educator, like that is awesome to help you do what you're doing now because you're bringing kids and you know where they're coming from. So you can relate to that.
Mhm,
'Cause you were in that system helping them. And right, these kids are probably coming very walls up for the most
mhm,
part, right? And as you said, as it evolves, right now they start to open up. And not only are you trying to give them another way out, one concept, you're two making them feel safe, which then, from an emotional level, right? That's making their like almost cybernetic set point feel good.
mhm,
And then you're giving them the education on the back end of like, here's another possibility. So it's like you're checking off so many boxes that I think for most people just brush right over, like, oh, that's a cute story. But it's like, no, there was so much that I'm doing here, and investing in, and then you're also still keeping in contact with them on the back end to help, further their development, right? So they can say, hey, like, this is important. Like you said, helping the soil, the earth,
yeah,
that's vital, and it should be like top priority.
mhm,
So I respect that of what you're doing, and I wanted to, I guess, say that so most people don't miss that. That there's many layers. It's layered to what you're doing. I guess
mhm,
is the way to say it.
mhm.
Lot of aspects.
Yeah, and I'll say
So
just to put a finer point on it is I built a company around the social program. I often get people like, "Oh, how do you incorporate your social program into your business?" I'm like, "I incorporated my business into the
yeah,
social."
exactly. Very much. I think that's evident in what you're doing. Talking even further about that, right? You talked about nature based like healing, which we talked about prior, right?
Oh,
Um,
can I say something? That was another thing I wanted to say.
yeah, go
It's
ahead. This is good.
this is respite care. These young people are coming out away from chaos, away from noise, away from, maybe difficult living situations. It's respite.
Hmm.
Being in nature, being around chickens, getting your hands dirty. There's microbes in the soil that have been shown to boost your mood. We know that movement outdoors boosts your mood.
For sure, for
It's
sure.
all fine. I mean, there's science is
Yeah,
catching up to what our ancestors knew
I
naturally.
know I wouldn't say maybe frustrating. I think sometimes it's not even fortunate. It's just I guess it's to your point. It's like science is catching up, so it kind of sucks that people have to wait for the science to show them, which is good because we need the science, right? But it's like it's been there. Like
Oh,
it's
yeah.
always been, it's just like now here's the proof, so you can make I guess a choice to actually believe it or not. But it's there, right?
And it's a validation of your internet, like, you're listening to,
Yes.
like, this inner knowing that is, we should trust a lot more.
Yep, yep, that intuition, inner voice. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, absolutely right there. And you kind of led me to my next question because we're talking about right nature healing. You kind of segued into that. There is to your point, right? There is something that happens by putting your hands in the soil. Like, right? There's people change, things change. If you want to talk about it, what do you think actually happens or is happening in that moment? Maybe with maybe your interns you had. Or what is maybe the land doing to them that the classroom or program can't, for that matter?
I think it's a safe place for the young people who come out here to discover that they are capable.
Mhm.
That, like, even if they don't go on to farming, that they can go they're capable, and that there's hope, and that, they're capable of hard work, and they're capable of learning, and they're capable of compassion, and they're capable
Mm.
of, connecting with others and with nature. I mean, uh they go forth with a more resilience and more confidence. And like I said, I stay in touch with them, so they go on and increase their capacity as young adults.
Yeah, I think you said that perfectly because, like, confidence, resilience, um, just gets reinforced, like you said. I think for many people coming from backgrounds or even have to be that background, but speaking just because this is the subject matter, like, you get told things, you don't believe certain things, so being able to step in and, like, do hard things, have
Mhm.
compassion, um this just moves the needle even further to the side that you wanna go to, a possibility, and like, "Oh, I can do this," right? So
Right. And getting back to the age group, that I'm so focused on is this is the
Oh yeah.
moment in their lives where the like it closes mid-20s, but this is
Mm-hmm.
the point in their life where they either have these experience that reinforce their capability and give them, the understanding that they can do whatever they set their minds to moving forward, and they go into adulthood with this capacity, or they don't have opportunities like this and they learn that uh, they just can't, and they fall into um, the trap that society has set for them,
Yep.
which is poverty and failure.
Yeah. 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 You hit the nail on the head. Speaking of the kids, though, right? That's my question for you next. It's a good one. So, if one of your kids, and I say your kids, but one of these
Mhm,
young people that come from your internship that are,
mhm,
that are listening right now, someone who may have came through your farm and still figuring
mhm,
out what their life is, supposed to look like.
mhm.
What do you want them to hear from you today? If you had to share something.
Yeah. Uh, so like I said, I am in contact with so many young people that I've worked with at the farm and even outside of the farm. Um, most of them, but I would say get in touch. I love when they reach out and they tell me how they're doing, and I will say to them right now directly, I'm so proud of you, and I enjoyed our time together, and I'm sure you are doing great, and you should be easy on yourself and
Mhm.
absorb your successes and keep going.
I love that. Yeah, it's important, and what you said was, like, have compassion, be nice to yourself, right?
Yeah,
That's important. That's a good reminder, like, honestly, for kids, really anybody, but, people who are coming from that, like, that's you need to hear that, right? Be nice to yourself, and don't beat yourself up. But, no, I if they are listening, maybe they'll hear this someday down the road. This will be good for them to hear, and I
yeah,
appreciate you sharing that. Um, so I want to switch gears here and kind of talk about kind of what you're doing now, right? Kind of going forward, kind of the frontier work, which is kind of your, fungi, hemp, and kind of agriculture or architecture together. So you're partnering up with the University of Michigan, right? Alma mater there, and professors on using hemp and fungi to grow structural building materials, which is really exciting. Which is crazy to think about. I feel like now with sciences and AI, I feel like all these things are like coming out, like all these possibilities. But to dial back in, can you kind of break that down for me and the listeners? Like, what are you trying to build, and why does it matter? Like, what's important about it?
So, my role in all this is the farming.
Yes.
Hemp is so unstable still, and access to it is difficult, and processing is almost non-existent. So, the pipeline to get these amazing potential hemp products, we've got hemp plastic, hemp fuel, hemp clothes,
Mhm.
hemp food, hemp building, like you said, structural material, um, all possible. But there's this bottleneck, if you will, or a juggernaut that just isn't there yet to let this all flow. It's there and it's blocking this
Right.
flow. And so what happened was this fall we had my collaborators around the state. We had an event at my farm um, around hempcrete, which is a building material. It's a misnomer. It's not like concrete. It's like a uh, insulation material, and we had this event, and this professor from U of M came out, and he's already working with fungi and hemp that he gets from far away. And this is just next level. Him and his team are able. They applied for a small pilot grant that we got,
Mhm.
and his team is going to start coming out this season to learn about hemp growing. And we have this on farm processor now, decorticator, that
Yeah.
we could process the hemp in different ways. And he's going to be working with me to figure out the best output for his idea, and then uh, that he has prototypes for. He knows this works.
Mm.
And so we're just early days still. This is seed money to do a proof of concept to
Yeah.
apply bigger grants. But if you can grow regenerative hemp and then grow fungi in that to build structure material, he's focused on furniture in particular. So imagine getting a couch. Couches are bulky, and they when they go
Mhm.
or at the end of their life, you're like, what am I going to do with this thing? What if you
Right.
compost it? What if
Yeah,
you
yeah,
compost it? So yeah, the future is really exciting, and and the ideas are there, and the opportunities are starting to. This is my eighth season, and this is last year. It feels like doors creaked open, and I have a sense that this year they're going to swing wide open, and it's finally happening.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Slowly but surely.
Yeah, but that's a tiny part of what we're doing.
Yeah,
We're but if this takes off, maybe we'll be a site to provide hemp for all the research happening at all the institutions. You know,
yeah. No, that's exciting, and I appreciate you giving clarity and clarification on what you're doing because I think when you said that to me offline, I was like, that is crazy. Like they're going to use
Mhm.
this plus hemp to build furniture. Like,
Yeah,
but to your
literally
point,
taking a mold, stuffing it with hempcrete or hemp herd, injecting a very specific species of fungi, and letting that fungi grow out till it's a solid form, and it's structural, and it holds weight. It's compostable.
I know it's crazy, but I love it. Like for me, I love it. Like I eat it up, but it's just wild that that's possible, and it's great that you're doing it. Like which once again, you're just getting started. You're on the front end of this. As the farmer,
Early, early.
yeah, on the early end of this, kind of piloting it,
Mhm.
what's possible. Um, so yeah, that's exciting. So thanks for sharing that. The hemp industry, you already touched on it, right? Super infant, really a baby in the grand scheme of
Right.
things. Now that it's kind of came back into our world, if you will, after being banned, right up and down regulatory uncertainty, market instability, and obviously it's a long road to be maturity. And you've been in it for a while. Just kind of curious if you had to share, what would you tell someone who wants to build in this space that isn't ready for them yet, or maybe not ready for them to kind of get into it?
In the hemp space or in any space?
That's a good question to
That
myself.
it
Yeah, I would say maybe hemp because that's kind of what we're in, right? You're in regenerative farming, you're using hemp. I would say maybe yeah, that'd be kind of our focus.
um, for hemp, I would start networking, because those of us who are still doing hemp, uh, have learned the lessons, and we have, a roadmap in our hands finally,
Yep.
and you absolutely should, connect, and you don't wanna reinvent the wheel. I mean, so the thing about hemp is it's lost knowledge.
Yes.
There before it became, you know, w banned for decades, it was an essential national crop, and farmers had the equipment, and there were mills, local, regional mills, and the seed, like, everything, the genetics were farther along. We all and the people who did all that are gone. Like, when we started in 2019, there was no institutional knowledge,
Yeah.
so you don't have to go through that. There are people who have figured it out. But on a broader sense,
Yeah.
if you're interested in something that you don't see anywhere else, you're onto something.
Yes.
So early, early, early on, say the first year when I started, doing internet searches, how do you start a business?
Uh-huh.
uh, a quote that I came across that just sticks with me, and because I wanted to do something, I wanted to be a disruptor. I wanted to be
Right.
did I just wanted to build something new as an opportunity to build something new. And the quote was, to change something, you need to build something that doesn't exist and makes obsolete the existing system. It's not working within the system on the margins to kind of reform. You need to build outside the system that makes the old no
Absolutely.
longer necessary. And that's my advice is, don't follow everyone. If you're following everyone, you're going to have maybe a good business that, operates profit on the margin.
Hmm.
But if you're courageous enough to not follow that, uh, it's the potential and the excitement and the opportunity is way vaster.
Man, I love that answer. That was awesome. That's so true. Because I was going to ask you, make it maybe a broader stroke, but you hit that right on. There's actually the quote I think that you mentioned was from Buckner.
Buckmeister, I think.
Yes,
Whatever I can't yeah.
yes, but you summarized it or paraphrased it perfectly. Yeah, you make the old system obsolete. Um, there was another one I had in my head that I was thinking of, but it's in essence the same, the same vein of, you got to do something different. Don't follow the masses, I guess is another way. Do the complete opposite.
Yeah, and
Observe
have
the
the
masses.
courage to be different and an
Yeah.
outsider and niche.
Yeah, and that's important too, I think, because it's hard, right? I mean, I have other guests that are coming on that have done something different. Um, and to our point, society gets comfortable in that realm. So you do something different, your friends, your family, your colleagues, they may say negative things, they may bash. So it's hard to say, to your point, like, hey, I'm doing something different. And they're like, why would you do that? Like, that's just do this. This is easier, right? And it's them trying to pull you, right, indirectly to the norm, the status quo. So what you
Resist
said, yes.
resist it.
Yeah, the resistance, the uncomfortability, like that's yeah, just be like everyone else. So what you said was spot on. I love what you said. Create a new reality, a new
And we need
system.
a lot of that right now. We are seeing, uh, many across the board systems showing their cracks, failing, no longer serving.
Mhm.
So we need this kind of thinking in every space.
Yeah, no, I agree. Be a disruptor and a
Mhm.
trailblazer. That's what comes to mind.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up here, Robin, kind of toward the end, right? You've been farming, building, right, mentoring, researching, and holding a vision for a better world for a long time, often without external validation. Now that it's eventually kind of coming, as you mentioned, often ahead of where the industry's at, as we just talked about. Looking at the life that you've built, what do you know now that you wish you could go back and tell the version of yourself who was just starting? Which I feel like is like $1 million question for everyone.
It is, and so I this when I told you I have weird answers, this is one of them.
Okay, we're ready.
I believe that I was already hearing what I'm saying now to myself.
Well,
And
yep,
there's this concept of, uh, time traveling
yeah.
mentally, and today I send like, where I am now in my life, I send gratitude to my younger self who did take the risk, who did make all those mistakes and,
Mhm.
um, kept going, and I can go think back to that time, and I believe that the source of my thoughts now were the source of my certainty then.
Mm, yeah,
And, so I don't think
would say anything
yeah, I
different.
always knew it was gonna be okay, and it
Yeah,
is o
it's it's amazing that you say that because it is yeah, there is right gratitude, and I think I don't know if people are listening, right? I think from my perspective, it's very evident that you were very like committed, and to look back now, like you said, you wouldn't change anything because I think in that moment you knew. So now, fast forward 10 years later, you're just like, hey, I thank you. I
Mhm,
appreciate you. You fought through right the resistance, and you stood. You kind of planted your flag, if you will, in your own top of the hill,
mhm,
and never wavered. But it sounds like there was very much intuitiveness and this guidance internally that was
yeah,
like, yep, this is it. And no looking back.
no, and am very great I recognize what that younger self went through, and every day I'm like, "Keep going, we made it." Life
Yeah,
is so
wait till you get here, like where I'm at now.
yeah, you'll
Yeah.
make it, but I think I heard that back then.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, very much so. So my last question, we kind of talk obviously a broad range of things, but for people who are listening, where can they find you, right?
yeah,
Follow the farm and get connected with your work, with what you're doing. Because I also want to talk about before you answer that. you
Mhm.
also do have a program that you help people. Is that correct? I mean, we didn't really touch on it or expand upon it, but you teach others as well. Is that correct?
So, yeah, so the farm is funded by the regenerative certified organic hemp we grow, but also through my living soil services,
Yes.
where I do a lot of consulting and educating. I do workshops, especially on living soil. If if I had heard a podcast question and that I stick with, that was a question of, if you could make any change in the world, what would it make? And I would have everyone instantly understand how soil works. We should have learned
Mhm.
this in elementary school. It is almost completely unknown across our populations. And so, a big, I do, um, I teach people how living soil works, and I do workshops. I partner with MSU. And I'm doing one for my county. I'm doing one at a community farm. Um, and so my training is beyond the internships. I pay
Yes.
for the internships through going out into the public and consulting and educating. And I have clients that I work with directly who are transitioning to a biological approach to farming. Um, so that's how I pay for the internships
Two.
instead of donations and grants and foundations.
Yes. Kind of the whole traditional
Yeah, I fund
way.
it myself through my work.
Two, before you answer this last question, I'll re-ask you. Are those clients a lot of farmers too? Like, are you? Because I'm like, man, this is like I support your work, right? I'm like, man, I'm even thinking there's a company here in South Bend called Unity Gardens, which does a lot of planting for veggies and foods and help out a lot of
Mhm.
unfortunate, right, groups.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm thinking like also farmers. Like you're kind of. I had Adam Klein who does hemp beverages in Indianapolis. I had on my first podcast. I say that to say that using the word crusader, right? I'm crusading
Mhm.
to help other farmers or other people in the industry to help them. And are those clients farmers also too, or is that businesses?
I
Or
have
like,
all across the board. I work with, I don't have a huge group of clients,
right?
like compost producers, indoor cannabis grows,
Mm,
flower farmers. I work with a hospital site. I work with a third generation apple and grape producer on the west side. I'm
wow,
working with a winery in Wisconsin. Um, and then I have home just gardeners
right?
who I do testing for and provide microbiology for. It's anybody comes. I hung out a shingle and so many different people. I can't tell you there's one profile for
Yeah.
who through my door.
Okay, good, good. That's good for those who are listening. Like that's amazing. I love that you're helping all different type of, like you said, profiles and different
Mhm.
interests and sectors within kind of that field.
Yeah,
And I know we didn't touch on it, but I did want to give some highlight, and that
yeah,
question kind of sparked it. That I wanted you to be able to share that as well.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, very much so. I want to then ask you again for those who are, are listening, where can people find you? Right, follow the farm and get connected with you with your work that you just
Yeah.
shared about.
Yeah, the best overview is our website, pottfarms.com. And you can learn about, in particularly the living soil services.
Hmm.
And then I have a newsletter that I am committed to putting out more often. That
Yes.
is, and then Facebook and Instagram are the accounts that I most am active on.
And is that Robbin Pott, like Facebook,
At Pott Farm.
or at Pott Farms? Okay.
Well, all of that is at Pott Farms. Is
Okay.
the account I have my own, but I don't. I work all everything I do is through the Pott Farms account.
Perfect. And what I'll do too, I'll make sure to put that in the show notes for those who want to get
Mhm.
connected with you, whether that's your work or your website, Facebook, and also newsletter. Definitely will get that. So myself included, because I didn't know you did that. So that's good to know that we can get on that list to hear what you're doing and what you're sharing. I guess maybe a bonus question before we hit this exit.
Mhm.
Of all my guests, right? Podcast is called the Life Is Podcast. And I always ask people, if you could fill in the blank, right? You say life is, and on the
Mhm.
back of that small phrase, what would you fill that in with? If you either a phrase or a word.
What I saw, this is what I see rising right now and what is necessary. I would say life is joy.
I love it.
Stay in a mindset of joy and wonder and awe and curiosity and raise your vibrations. Don't get bogged down in things you can't control. And life is meant to be enjoyed with
Mm,
others, with nature, and make that a priority. Whatever you're doing, find
I love
joy
that.
every day.
Life is joy. That is a good way. Keep the curiosity. That is
Mm-hmm.
very, very true. Well, good. I wanted to, wrap it up on that last question, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a good
Uh,
one.
yeah, no, your answer was even better. So I appreciate the response. But from here, like I said, Robin, I want to thank you. I really do. You have been a wealth of knowledge and just, um, very pleasant on the show and giving all your information, your expertise, your journey, and the reality of what you're currently doing. So I want to thank you for coming on here and sharing that with myself and those who are listening. But from here, we'll let you get back to what you do best, which is what you're in now.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your format and the issues that you're pulling out and highlighting. It's absolutely what we need right now.
Yeah. We need to broadcast it. We need people to look at it, see it, hear it, get invested in it.
Yeah. And I see your work as part of this. You're making a big contribution.
Yeah. No, I am. Thank you so much.
Hmm.
Well, from here, we will let you get back to it and enjoy the rest of your evening, Robin.
Okay. Thanks so much, Coy.
All right. Take care.
Bye bye.
What Robin showed us today is that the most radical thing you can do is build something that gives back more than it takes. She didn't start with a finished farm. She started with a philosophy and had the patience to let the land and herself become what they were supposed to be. That's what intentional living looks like when you build from the inside out. The soil is the metaphor. The work is real. I'll see you in the next episode. That's a wrap on today's episode of the Life Is podcast. If something in this conversation landed for you, a shift in perspective, a reminder, or something you needed to hear, don't let it stay there. Take it with you. Put it to work. If you're ready to go deeper, I have tools built specifically for this journey, a self-discovery blueprint and a diagnostic designed to show you exactly where your foundation needs attention. Links are in the show notes. And if this episode added value, share it with someone who's building, leave a review, help us grow this community of intentional people doing real work. Remember, fulfillment isn't found, it's built. Life is art in motion, and you are the artist. Until next time, keep building.